Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. Hey folks, welcome back to the ODDCAST podcast. We're here with a very special guest today, Thomas Keenan, TK. We're at Danckcuts.
Hey.
We're kind of Orange County, California, Irvine, I believe is the actual zip code. But thank you, Danckcuts, so much for hosting us. TK, thank you for joining us. How you doing today?
Feeling blessed, feeling great, feeling like I'm about to get my confidence boosted up because Danckcuts is giving me that TK specialty. I don't think you know how they do it here. Basically, any barber can cut your hair and do it the same way every single time, because they log all of your details on how you like your haircut. Because the worst thing is, like, you go to a barber shop, you fall in love with the barber, you get your haircut, and then that barber leaves and tries to open up their own shop or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can't find that barber.
Well, instantly you're getting something inconsistent, like you said.
Inconsistent.
So, ODDCAST podcast, we always talk about turning passion into paychecks, passion into profession. I want to give you a big shout out and congratulations on opening up MVMT.
Hey, movement.
Right off Alicia, I believe it is.
Yeah, it's off Alicia Parkway. Very special to me.
Yeah. So I guess the initial the easiest thing to do would be to kind of leave the floor open to you and give us like the 20,000 foot summary of your kind of development into fighting, and also, I know Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is near and dear to your heart.
Yes, sir.
So kind of what was the initial thing that, because combat sports are very unique, what was kind of the initial foray into combat sports?
Simple. A cute girl asked me to try out Jiu Jitsu, and I was like, yeah, I'll come try it. And her name was Victoria Chapman. She asked me to come try a Jiu Jitsu class with her, and it was a setup. It was a setup to choke me out, to humble me in front of my friends. And me and my friend Austin Stewart, we rolled over to this academy, Master Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Master Bell's academy, and she choked me out. She triangled me on my very first day of jiu-jitsu, and I realized how real this martial art was. And my pride, my dignity, my confidence, all of that was stripped from me. It was taken as soon as she wrapped her legs around me, and I was like, I can breathe fine, but I feel like I'm gonna pass out. So she slapped a triangle on me so quick, and she tapped me out. And I was like, "What did you just do?" And she's like, "It's a triangle. You're gonna learn it. You'll like it." And lo and behold, the triangles become like my favorite submission.
That's your go-to.
My go-to is probably a bow and arrow choke from the back, but I would say my triangle choke is a close second.
Yeah. Well, I was reading a couple interesting stories about your time, your performance in Abu Dhabi, especially.
Ooh, thank you.
And that was I believe they were crediting a lot of that stuff to Gustavo Dantes.
Yeah, that was the gentleman. That was the BJJ mental coach. He was the guy that got me into personal development.
Mm-hmm.
I attest a lot of my lower belt jiu-jitsu to GD Jiu-Jitsu Academy. I have so many friends over at GD Jiu-Jitsu Academy that I still keep in touch with to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I have great friends, because when you train with somebody every day, like, you naturally become like very close to them.
Oh, it's
because
probably,
like, you're choking each other, you're grappling with each other, you're waking up early, you're cutting weight together.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Rodriguez, as good as they come. Orlando Montero, as good as they come. Marcio Andre, the best of the best. These guys over at GD Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Then you have like the Danny O'Donnells, like one of the nicest individuals I've ever met in my life. Like, Danny O.D. is so smart. I don't know why he doesn't start a podcast, because this dude is incredible. Like, he knows everybody in the jiu-jitsu arena, and he's so nice that you almost think it's fake. Like, that's how nice he is. He's like, man, like, why is this guy like so nice all the time?
Yeah.
Like, I got like Fred Arnett, Nick Flores, Bobby Green, all these guys over there that I used to train with every day. It sucks that some of us, like, we don't keep in touch anymore. But I shared so many memories with these people. Alberto, the Gonzalez family. There's so many relationships I have over at GD Jiu-Jitsu because that's where I spent like a good 6 years of my life going through like the lower belts. And that's actually where I earned my black belt, which was one of the most special days of my life.
Yeah.
Earning your black belt's a big deal in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, our lower belts everything but, I was going to say.
Lower belts are white, blue, purple, brown, black. So basically that's like your internship in jiu-jitsu. And when you start your professional career, that's when you're a black belt. So right now I'm like in my professional aspect of my life. I'm being professional as a coach.
Yep.
I'm being professional as a fighter.
Yep.
I'm trying to be professional as a communicator.
Yep.
I'm being professional as a friend. I'm being professional as a mentor. And professional to me means you have integrity and intensity in everything you do, and you give 110% everywhere you go. And for me, I have it tattooed on my leg. I'm not special. I just don't quit. I don't give up. So because of that mentality, I'm fortunate enough to say that, at 29 years old, 30, like 30, you're like, oh man, shit, you're getting old. Like once you start thinking you're old, you're old. Age has nothing to do with it because there's a gentleman by the name of Carlos Farias. He owns Farias Jiu-Jitsu in Arizona. In his mid-40s, he was ranked number 6 in the world in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when people they make excuses like, oh, I'm too old, this is happening. Oh, you're too old? You started too late? Okay, guess what? Megaton Diaz is a monster. He's the person that brought Jiu-Jitsu to Arizona. So if you guys want to Google Megaton Diaz, best of the best. He's a monster. Megaton is a monster. He does the adult division. I'm pretty sure he's in his 40s. He might be a little bit older, but he has a daughter, Mackenzie. Mackenzie's a monster too. She's in the UFC now. So she's an incredible jiu-jitsu practitioner, a black belt. But Megaton, he's next level. I've learned so much from that guy. When I was transitioning from GD Jiu-Jitsu Academy, I was training at Megaton Diaz Academy for a little bit before I ended up making the move to California. And I learned so much from Megaton in a short amount of time. And his mentality was like, you can't worry about what other people think. You got to do what you want to do and not worry about other people's opinions. And that was my Achilles heel. I always worried about what people thought of me, my reputation, how I came across.
How'd you get over that worry?
I didn't.
Are you still getting over, or are you still?
I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, that's not a worry you get over. I think if you have that, it stays with you the rest of your life. So for me, younger me, like 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, even through almost 24, 25, I was a people pleaser. So it's I just wanted people to like me. You know what I mean?
Kind of a yes man, go with the flow.
No, not yes man.
Peer pressure?
More like if I was in a certain environment, I felt like I needed to be part of that environment, even if it wasn't something I agree with. Like if you were a hunter and you like to shoot animals, which for me, it's I have more respect to people that know how to shoot a bow staff and know how to hunt. But for me, I'm like, man, what if these animals had a gun?
Yeah.
People would get lit up. What if the elk had a Glock? What if the elf had a rifle?
They had that game back in the day. It was Deer Hunter, and it was a deer that came to an office, and it was strapped up. Yeah,
that's savage.
It was pretty funny.
And I always wondered, what if the world was a real life Hunger Games? Have you seen that movie?
I haven't seen the movie. I know the concept though.
The concept is sick. You know what I mean? I'm so for me, I love jiu-jitsu because it gives me the opportunity to be in the present moment. And in the present moment, I'm not worried about the past. I'm not worried about the future. Because trust me, I made my fair share of mistakes, bad decisions, bad calls.
Yeah.
Things you wish you can go back and do different. But forget that. You know what I mean? Because those decisions help me get to where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is I have people depending upon me. I have a team.
Yeah.
I have students. I have people throwing around the word mentor.
Yep.
And that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's real heavy.
Well, would you say, I mean, you said you're in the moment when you're practicing jiu-jitsu or competing. Would you say that's almost, because what I've heard is what a lot of people enjoy about it is it's like there's a problem there and you have a set of solutions of how you're able to solve it. And you can be very complex or very simple, or you can kind of change your style based on the opponent or feign one thing and then go with another. But it's kind of a problem-solving oriented.
My style is
craft.
like I don't adapt to my opponent. My style is...
You force your style on them.
My style, there's a saying in jiu-jitsu, it's called be first. My style is whoever I go up against, they better be ready for a storm.
So you're the problem.
I'm the problem.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I initiate.
Yeah.
I initiate.
Okay.
And when you initiate, you're in the driver's seat.
When you say initiate, do you mean just for, I mean, even for me who's never, do you mean something as simple as making the first move? Or
Yes,
do you mean,
exactly.
Okay.
Verbatim. I take the takedown, or I pull guard, or as soon as we slap hands, I'm determining how the fight's going. Why? Because there's a mindset that I have that, like, I'm never going up against anybody else. I'm always going up against myself. So, like, people deal with, like, nerves and butterflies. For me, I've always thought it was, like, us battling ourselves, you know, and when you battle yourself, you know, sometimes you perform to your potential and other times you underperform.
Yeah.
And if you look at my academy, you'll see a lot of bronze medals. You'll see a lot of silver. And I don't hide them. I show those bronze medals. I show those silvers because they're part of my story. And I lost a lot. Yeah, I was the 2017 Abu Dhabi World Pro Champion.
First ever American brown belt.
Yeah, that was cool. You know, to represent the United States of America. That's an honor. You know, and there was some good, you know, Flow Grappling did some nice write-ups on that, and I was very honored about that. But then, like, I kind of, like, fell off after that. You know, I went through some changes in my life. I went through some changes of, like, my team, my academy, my faith, my focus. I kind of just, like, lost my relationship with, like, what I believed in. And
really?
How
did you was it just a natural refocus, or did you have to
work
at you had to work at refocusing?
Yeah, I was just like, man, I just talked to myself very negatively. I was like, you're a bum. I was like, you're a bum. You don't commit to nothing.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, you're a bum. I was like, you're a phony. You're a fake. You're a wannabe. Like, you're not a jiu-jitsu player. You'll never be a fighter. That's how I would talk to myself. I would talk to myself like shit. Like shit, I would talk to myself. I would talk to myself like, and it doesn't make sense because if you ask anybody that knows me, I'm one of the most positive individuals around.
Yeah.
I try to bring others up around me. I try to make sure that people have perspective, that they don't look at life in like a convoluted way where it's like they're a victim in every scenario. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was the victim. Oh, I would win a world championship if I was able to train full time. I would win a world championship if I was able to have enough money to go to these tournaments. I would be the best fighter in the world if I had the right coach.
There's the ifs.
These ifs. They were my Achilles heel. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I deleted them, which was not a short process, it was a very long process. As soon as I deleted the ifs and I changed that if to a why not, it was over. You know what I mean? My life took flight and I took off, you know, and now, you know, you have the academy movement, which is a movement because it's a mindset, and it's my philosophy. My philosophy is in life, it's you versus you. So movement, MVMT, stands for me versus me training. That's what it stands for.
So if you can overcome the personal, okay.
And I'm so grateful for Danckcuts, and Zach is an incredible individual. Very, very unique visionary. Like, when I saw his place, I was like, he designed this place like modern minimalism with the future of what haircutting should be, which is like, you don't have to rely on the barber. You just have to show up to the barbershop that you like, which is Danckcuts. And when you show up to Danckcuts, whoever's in here is going to know how to cut your hair. I love it here. You know, these guys treat me like family, and, you know, we talked about a potential partnership. And now, like, I'm not sponsored by Danckcuts. They're they're the best. You know, you come in, they give you soda, they give you water, they give you drinks. You make your appointment time. You don't wait. You come in here, you get the freshest cut, and you get out. And that's how haircuts need to be because people don't have time to waste anymore. We live in an era of efficiency. And Danckcuts, man, they're redefining what a barbershop should be like. I think they're like the engineers of like, yeah, this is the way.
Oh yeah,
This is the way.
this is a template.
This is the template. A lot of
Yeah.
people are gonna copy this model, and that's okay. But Zach's the visionary, and he put this together. I usually go to the Lake Forest one, but I'm so glad that I came to Irvine. And guess what? Just because I come to Irvine, they give me the same fresh cut. And I have the same fresh cut.
Shout out to Danckcuts, and now we're gonna shift on over. We want to do a big shout out to Danckcuts again. Incredible barbershop in Irvine, and with the other locations where you said
Lake Forest.
Lake Forest. So
Lake Forest and Irvine.
yeah, our guy Zach and
Lauren.
Lauren. Oh yeah, of course, Lauren, the VP.
Yes.
So thanks a lot for having us. But yeah, we're back. So I guess now would be probably the perfect time to switch it from, we were talking a lot about your career, and now the shifting of. You've always been a competitor. When was like kind of this teaching seems to be almost as big, if not more of a passion for you than competing, which is gnarly to say because you're such a freaking competitor.
Thanks.
And what I like about what you say about teaching is it's kind of like what we discussed with Jaywalk is it's not limited to physical or emotional or spiritual. It's a whole package that you kind of present to people, whereas it's not just strength and conditioning. That's why Jaywalk was saying he hates the strength and conditioning coach label. It's so much more than that. I feel like you provide that.
Yeah, it's a label. It's a label, and I think we relate to labels, and people are very quick to put you in a box based on your ethnicity, based on your education, based on your background, based on your upbringing. I think a label is utilized to create simplicity to somebody's thought process.
Limiting almost too.
It limits them. If you utilize it in a limiting manner,
Mm-hmm.
you run the ODDCAST podcast. So it's like, that's what you do. But you have more than that. And a lot of people don't know that you have your law degree. A lot of people don't know the fact how educated you are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know how much time you've put in to get to where you're at. And they're like, well, where's he at? Well, that's for you to decide. That's your metric. And when I was really upset with myself is because I was utilizing other people's metrics. Like, what's a great coach?
So when you say utilizing, like, is that what we were again talking about before on the drive over here? Was kind of comparing yourself? Is that
Yeah,
did you
I
fall
do,
into
I,
that
do
trap?
that. I do that all the time. So like comparing myself is more like being aware of your surroundings, but naturally as humans, we love to not only observe, like how we learn is from seeing. There's some people that like they have similarities to other people. Doesn't mean they're trying to be that person. It just means that like maybe some person is inspired by another individual.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a role model. Maybe it's your upbringing. Maybe it's how your dad raised you. Maybe it's the moral values that your mom instilled in you as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my whole thing was like I just wanted to belong. Like I wanted to belong to something. I had this like huge insecurity that I didn't belong anywhere. Like the fact that we were just talking about labels, like I wanted a label.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted somebody to be like, oh, he's Puerto Rican. Like, oh, he's Italian. Like, oh, he's Hispanic. Like, oh, he's half black. Like I didn't, I never met my biological father. Doesn't mean I don't have a dad, but I never met my biological father, So that to me was, always like, where do I like fit in? Because
What's my label?
What's my label? Yeah, what's my label? Like, what am I gonna, grow up to become? What am I gonna be? And when you're a kid, you're like a scientist. Oh yeah, like
Wow.
I want to be, a lawyer. I want to be a fighter.
Uh-huh.
I want to be a martial artist. I want to be a poet. I want to be an artist. Whatever you want to aspire to be, the older you get, the labels that you have for yourself start to become more believable. And these believable labels, I believe, are plugged from the people around you that you respect. So if you love and respect your mom and your dad, and they have an opinion of you that you don't necessarily agree with, part of that's going to rent space in your head.
And it's going to instill over time, like you said.
Over time, you start to believe these things and these opinions of other people. Not that people don't matter. People really matter. Mm-hmm. But the opinions of another person doesn't have to become your reality.
Yeah.
The opinions of another person only becomes your reality if you believe that to be true.
Exactly.
So if I say you're a bum, you're only a bum if you partially, sort of, any percentage of you feels like a bum, then those words hurt you.
Yeah.
You know, like the saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's crazy. Words hurt people all the time.
Oh yeah.
Jiu-jitsu will hurt you all the time. it's like, how do you respond to that type of pain?
Yeah.
And for me, my mentality is like, never quit, don't tap. No, that's not my mentality. That's you trying to label me as some crazy guy that like never quits and never gives up and doesn't tap to submissions. I tap the most in practice. I tap the most in practice.
Yeah.
Where I don't like to tap is when I'm executing. And executing is like performance day. It's game day. It's the Worlds. It's the Abu Dhabi. It's the IBJJF tournament. It's an MMA fight. It's every day for me is a fight. And the fight that I have is with myself. And the fight that I have with myself is coming to peace with where I'm at and what I'm doing and not worrying about other people's approval. But I always wanted other people's approval in order to do what I'm doing. Like, oh, like, yeah, you have the blessing. Or like, yeah, you're doing well. Like, I always wanted that. But you don't need that. You don't need the blessing of your dad. You don't need the blessing of your mom. You don't need the blessing of your spouse, your significant other.
It helps, but you don't need it.
You don't need it. You need to have the blessing or the support of yourself to truly believe that you are where you need to be and you're doing what you need to be doing. And I've got so many reconfirmations that I am where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, not just from the words people say to me, but the results, actions, executing. The proof is in the pudding. Just give it some time, you know. It's like there's a reason why people are successful, because they model what success is. And then more importantly, not only do they model it, they define what success is to them. And for me, is like my freedom, is my time, it's my ability to help people and help. Like how do you help people? Like, well, maybe I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I've been through some shit. So if you can relate to me in any way, shape, or form, I helped you. Even if you said like, thank you, I don't need the thank you. I'm not doing it for the thank you. I'm doing it for the fact that in my heart, I believe I am training to be one of the world's best kids coaches. Maybe from there, you know, it'll translate to like one of the best adult coaches. And then from there, maybe it'll translate to, you know, the next level from that is like, plain and simple, one of the best coaches.
Is that the natural trajectory, to train kids first and then move up to adults?
I don't think that is. I just think you have to have the right patience and you have to have the right temperament to work with kids, because kids have such a short attention span.
Especially with something as intricate as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, that's why I guys all my lessons and my teachings and games to keep it fun. You got to keep it playful, you know. I think the Gracies do a great job of that. You know, some people, they hate on it that you can get your blue belt like mailed to you nowadays, and you can go online and, you know, essentially move up the ranks in jiu-jitsu. And I know that doesn't go over well with the jiu-jitsu community, but maybe what I'm doing doesn't go over well with the jiu-jitsu community. Maybe me not really focusing too much on the politics might not go over well with the jiu-jitsu community.
But in the end of the day, what it seems to me you're doing is making it accessible.
Yes.
And irregardless of, you know, what the jiu-jitsu community says about that, that can't be anything but positive for the sport as a whole.
For the people that participate in it and that are actually reaping the benefits from training, it's great for them.
Yeah.
But for the people looking from the window, from the outside perspective, they're like, no, that's not the traditional way to do things. That's not what we do and how we do it. This
and
is
all
the way that we
respect to
do
the
it.
old guard, seriously, all respect to the old heads who made it what it is.
100%.
I mean, and
gotta respect your lineage, because I wouldn't be where I'm at today if there wasn't people that made certain sacrifices and decisions to help me be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the people that came before me, I wouldn't be able to say that grown-up pajama wrestling is my profession. It's my profession.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I do. Like, people are like, well, what else do you do? Like, how do you make money? Like, what else do you do? It's like, yeah, like, a lot of people go to school to make money, but like, take you, for example. You went to law school. Maybe at one point the goal was become a lawyer. And then in having the title or label that we talked about earlier, that gives you money, you know, because lawyers get compensated well. But did that make you happy? Is that something
fulfilled?
Fulfilled.
Neither happy nor fulfilled.
So you did a complete 360, and look what you're doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you like it?
I mean, I love it so far. You know, and we just got to work on the paychecks aspect
Yes.
of the passion.
Yeah, you got to monetize your passion.
But
you
the
gotta
thing
monetize
is,
your passion.
look how I feel, and I believe that you would agree with this too. I mean, you know, there's a difference of, you know, chasing someone down for the paycheck of the session, but there's also the difference of my value, truthfully, is to get to drive up here from SD and meet cool people like you and share their story.
Awesome.
Like that's my, so the tricky part I think this could be applied to anything. The trickiest part of monetization or trying to sponsor anything that you're doing, especially if you're a self-starter, is doing it in a genuine way, right? You don't want to be disingenuous or go after the quote unquote money grab.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever lines up with your interests and your beliefs, that's where you stop being your own boss, which is kind of, in the end of the day, what we all got into.
But if somebody says they don't value taking care of themselves or making money, they're full of it, because
Precisely.
you have to make money in order to take care of yourself. Like my grandfather told me, like, before you help or take care of anybody else, you have to be able to take care of yourself.
Well, what do they say on planes?
Yeah, you're right. The oxygen mask. Is that what you're talking
Secure
about?
it to yourself before, and a
yourself.
lot of people hear that and they're like, whoa. And look, I don't have kids. I have to say that's one where I would probably make the exception, just because.
Yeah.
But with anyone else, you have to make that distinction. And you know, you're in the business of people. I'm in the business of people.
Yes.
It's sometimes tough to walk that line of being.
You wear a lot of hats.
You wear a lot of hats, like whether it's booking and then collecting, or whether it's just booking, you know, all this, that, and the third. And
Yeah, that part sucks. But
yeah.
the part that's like heavy is that like people are not one dimensional. They have layers to them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like, but we're so quick to put a label like, oh, this guy's he's a joke. This guy is a punk. This guy is he's arrogant. This guy is shy. This guy is not funny. You know, and more power to these people that have their opinions about other people. But at the end of the day, those opinions don't pay that person's rent. Those opinions don't matter when that person passes away, because they won't be at their funeral. You know, those opinions of the peanut gallery, they eventually fade. And those people that are strengthening their fingers on the keyboard and they're pecking away at the keyboard, half of those people have never stepped foot in a gym and know what real work is.
Oh gosh, I can only
They don't know what real work is.
Keyboard warriors that go on behind MMA.
They don't know what real work is. And that's outside of MMA. There's a lot of people that just love to observe. They love to observe, and they don't take action themselves.
Well, I think ultimately, like, labels inherently are limiting to both the person they get applied to and the person that uses them. But the person they get applied to can push past the label, right? As long as they're positive and, like you said, don't let others define you.
Well, it's perspective. It's all perspective, right? For me, I have a very strong core belief that in any story or any incident that's ever taken place, there's always three sides. And three sides of that story is, okay, we had this podcast, it's the ODDCAST podcast. Mm-hmm. We may think it came out great, and then another person might think that was garbage. And then somewhere in the middle is the truth. So there's always like three perspectives to everything. There's
his side, her side, and the truth.
Yeah, this person's perspective, the other person's perspective, and like somewhere in the middle between that is like what actually transpired. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, since I know that, you know, why not write your story the way that you want your story to go, as opposed to sitting back and letting other people say, like, this is what the ODDCAST podcast is going to become. Yeah. Like, they're not doing it. They're not putting in the work. So they're not really entitled to that opinion, because they're not the ones that are traveling the way you're traveling, sacrificing the way you're sacrificing. Like, how many hours have you put into this? How many years have you put into law school? You've put a lot into everything that you do, and you deserve a return. Yeah. And the return on your investment could be, like you mentioned, monetary. It could be fulfillment. It could be both. If you're lucky, it's both. It's you're getting blessed with, you're able to take care of yourself. You're able to take care of others. You're able to pay your bills. You're comfortable, but you're not complacent, and you're fulfilled, meaning like your definition of success or happiness is occurring. And for me, I am on the trajectory, or I'm on the track to execute what I always told myself. Like, my inner dialogue was always like, one day I'm going to X, Y, and Z. And then when that doesn't happen, it hurts you, because it's like you don't expect that to happen.
Because you've been through A, B, C, D, F
Yes.
to get to X, Y, Z.
You made all these mistakes. So I was like, oh, well, why don't I just like trick my mind and just say that like I will out-endure people as opposed to compete against them? What if I just out-endure them? And it's like, well, that's not necessarily true because you get your butt kicked in sparring.
Yeah.
Well, that's not necessarily true because there's so many other people that have like way better podcasts, way more views, way more downloads. And it's like, but maybe your metrics are wrong. Maybe you just have to keep going. And for me, quitting is very prevalent, and it's so easy to quit at everything that you do. It's hard to keep going with something. It's hard to stay consistent. It's very hard. It's very easy to talk about consistency. It's very hard to execute consistency on a consistent manner, because anybody can be consistent for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the definition of consistency.
No, consistency is over. I mean, you could argue it's over a lifetime is the true mark of consistent.
That's a great example. I think a lot of people, they don't know what it means to commit. And for me, I struggle with commitment. I struggle with commitment of like being at a place at a certain time in an event, because I would always worry, like, how do you know? Like, nothing's promised. So like, why should we make these commitments if like nothing's guaranteed? But that's like a pessimistic approach.
Yeah, you're almost already shooting yourself in the foot before you begin.
You are.
There.
It's negative, and I hate that lives within me. So like we have like that yin and yang. So like that evil or that voice or that I guess that ball and chain that holds
it's kind
you
of the
back.
inner demon, though, like you said, that
Demon.
inner
Yeah.
demon.
Let's
inside,
say this. Like we all have demons, whether you want to voice yours or not. I know you have them.
Oh, dude. Every time I think, you'll put out this episode, that episode, this episode, you're like, okay, this is the one that'll blow it up, quote unquote. But
what's blow it up?
Exactly. And the thing is, for me, the inner demon would be,
what's validation to you?
Yeah, what's validation is, my validation for me, frankly, is to be able to go on my own channel and be like, I would listen to that.
Hey, nice.
Right?
That's good. That's a good metric.
That's always been what I mean. You said that you set out to accomplish goals, and that's your value of success is if you set out goals, you accomplish them.
Yeah, my students are required to have goals if they train with me.
That's really interesting.
That way I can measure not only what they're aspiring to do, but I can measure myself as a coach.
And your effect on them.
Yeah, because other coaches think like, oh, you're not a good coach unless you're producing world champions. And it's like, well, I know my students have good jiu-jitsu, but they have good jiu-jitsu because of themselves, because they show up to practice and they push past discomfort and they learn the lessons and they apply the lessons. So for me, I'm just a facilitator. So since I facilitate these lessons and techniques that I've learned that help me outside of the academy, now it's like, okay, how do I utilize this jiu-jitsu mindset to not break when I'm under pressure?
That's what makes it even bigger.
Yes, when I'm under pressure in jiu-jitsu, it's very easy to want to break. If Carlos Farias puts his pressure on you, you're going to want to break because he puts massive amounts of pressure on you.
Yep.
And how are you going to deal with pressure when it slaps you in the face? Because it's coming. Whether you think you've dealt with adversity or life's blessed you, or whether you've had no setbacks, eventually you're going to have setbacks, and let's just call that setback pressure. If that setback's pressure, are you going to react to that pressure? Or are you going to respond to that pressure?
You want to respond.
I want to be a responder. That's what I want to be. Does it mean I'm always a responder? Absolutely not. I'm human and I have emotions and I react. But I'm trying to train myself to be more of a responder because that's within my control. Outside of my control is 80% of what transpires in the world. 80% of the world, you can't control that. But the 20% that you can control, it usually stems within your choices. Like for me to sit down with you and talk about thought process and concepts and training and jiu-jitsu and opening up my first business, it's like, yeah, maybe I will have another business. Maybe it'll be jiu-jitsu, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll have yoga, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll have boxing, kickboxing, maybe it doesn't. Like, that's my choice. So your choice is a series of thought processes that you bring into real life. Like, before you had the ODDCAST podcast, you had the idea that this would be a pretty cool gig. Now you're at the execution phase. So the execution phase is perhaps the most important, because this is when people decide what label do you want to be in? Do you want to be the guy that tried to create a podcast? Or do you want to be the label that's, man, I started a podcast and I failed for my first year, but I failed forward because I took all those lessons and I parlayed them. And now my podcast is up there with Joe Rogan. Who's to say it's not? Who's to say it's not going to be the JRE? Well, no, that's different. That's the most listened to podcast. Well, that's your excuse that you're telling yourself. How do you know I'm not going to be?
limit? Well, yeah.
How do you know I'm not going to be the best kids coach in the world? You don't know that. You're not Nostradamus.
I would say what I would equate that one to just having been through like so many different like tiers of school. It would always piss me off when people would go into a test and be like, "Well, all I need is a B to pass." I'd be like,
"Yeah,
I'm not a genius or anything. Seriously,
we do that in jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, that's
like,
called like the settle mindset, and the settle mindset is like you make it into the medal rounds, and you're like, hey, at least I'm guaranteed bronze.
When you start a sentence with at least
I'm in the finals. If I'm in the finals, whether I lose or win, I'm getting the silver.
What if that was your gym's name? At least
would never happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just like
it's a cop out.
It's a cop out, and it's like you can always be like, well, I limited myself, so I didn't really. You can even go back and cop out even further by being like, well, I didn't fully go for it.
Yeah,
you can go back and be, if I had
your excuse written,
and then you got the what ifs, the case of the what ifs.
Like if I had your schedule, I'd be able to do a podcast too. If I had your time, if I dressed half as dapper as you dressed, like people would listen to me too. If I had that watch, if I had this money, if I had that time, like these are things that everybody can acquire. But you can't acquire more time. That one is the hard part. So now that I'm aware of that, like that time is so limited, I think that's why my gratitude has kicked in on like a new height, because I'm aware that time goes very, very quickly, and there's no type of job or compensation or feat of fulfillment that you're going to experience in life that's going to give you like elation or ecstasy or fulfillment or nirvana. You're not going to reach it. So now that I know that I'm never going to get to the top of the mountain where I want to get, I'm okay, because I'm strapped in and just enjoying the process. Because if I just enjoy the climb, the process is, that's like half the enjoyment of it. It's like, I'm enjoying this struggle part. I'm enjoying the parts of this where I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah.
And there's a large part of my life where I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and from the outside looking in, of course, it probably looks like, oh, no, he has it all in order. I mean, I always equated to kind of back in the day, like when I was done building the Lego set, I was like, well, what now?
Yeah.
Right? Like the struggle, the journey of building it, like, getting the piece wrong and then having to go back and piece it together in the correct way.
Yeah.
I know I'm getting a little preachy and metaphorical here.
No, it makes sense.
It really is like once I'm done with the game, like once I'm done with that series, it's like, oh, you have no more to explore in it or no more to. So when we equate that to life, it can be kind of fun, I think. And it's like you said, it's mind opening.
Yes.
Mind altering, mind opening.
And I believe things happen for a reason. That's like the crazy part of me. I believe that nothing happens by accident.
Yeah.
I believe that people have the ability to make any choice, any decision, whatever they'd like to do. And with that freedom comes rewards. And with that freedom also comes responsibility. The other opposite end of the coin, which is responsibility and potentially consequences. So like you can make these decisions all day long. What time you wake up, what time you go to sleep, what you think about during the day, how you talk to yourself, how you train, how much effort you put into your passion, how hard you go at work, how much you do in your relationship, how much you do outside your relationship, how you treat people. That's a big never-ending question. It's like, when is enough? A lot of people, they want to know, like, will I make it or will I? But like,
what's that number?
Yeah, what's that number? If I win a world championship, am I now validated by the jiu-jitsu community? It's like, yes and no. Like, people know that you're very good at your art. They know that you're very good at what you do. But this is the first year that the IBJJF is going to actually pay people for competing in the world championship, which is arguably the toughest tournament to compete in, like talent-wise.
Wow.
But this is the first year after all of these years that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes, who are now professional, they are professional athletes now. They're professional as young as the blue belt level.
Wow.
There's kids that are training 3-4 times a day. It's wild.
Sick.
This is really happening. Kids are getting homeschooled and they're training full time.
Thanks to people like you who's
Thank
training
you.
kids, by the way.
Yeah,
Full circle.
They're coming with this idea that like, okay, this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because once something's defined that this is possible, like how did you know running a podcast could potentially work?
Because I saw it.
Because you saw it. And now that you saw it doable, you believe it. Like, so if somebody tells me I can't be a high level coach and be a high level athlete at the same time, well, I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it happen before. So how do you know that I can't do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's my choice, how hard I want to train. That's my choice, how much I want to invest in my students, how attached I want to be to the academy. And I've made my fair share of mistakes and choices, but I learned from them. And then when you learn from them, yeah, you're going to make some new ones. And then you learn from those. And then you just gather those pieces and you connect the puzzle to make the picture that you want to see. And the picture that I wish to see every single day is to know that I'm having a positive impact on not only my students, but the people around me in a manner that's going to help them the rest of their life when they go through some bullshit. Mm-hmm. And I believe I'm doing that right now. Even if it's a small scale, I'm doing it right now.
Even if it's one person.
I'm doing it right now. Yep. I'm doing it presently.
That's incredible. Well, I mean, I guess this is a perfect time then. You know, I know you have to, big shout out to MMT.
Yeah, I got to go teach.
I know you gotta
I got to go teach the kids over there.
Yeah, big shout out to MMT. Big shout out to, Faster Sport Performance, of course.
John Walker and the man, the myth.
The legend.
The legend, Frankie Mercado.
We got to get you on here, Frankie.
That's the guy that you're going to have next. I believe that you're going to love this guy's story because he's as genuine as they come.
Yeah.
And everybody's story matters.
Well, I want to give you the opportunity to give some big shout outs right now, actually.
Cool. So let's do it.
Like this, I mean, yeah, so keep going about Frankie for sure. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I wanted to give you the time to let them know what you got going, where they can find you.
Okay.
Where they can find MVMT. How they can, it's the time is yours right now. Screen time is yours. It's
25461 Alicia Parkway. Not by coincidence, my belated aunt passed away 2 years ago on April 5th. And, that wasn't long ago, April 5th. Finally hit the 2-year mark. And now I have an academy that is our academy. Our academy meaning my students are going to have access to go in whenever they want to train. My coaches, my friends, my mentors, they're part of this. I'm part of this. We're part of this. And I always wanted something that was like a together thing. Mm-hmm. I like that feeling. Mm-hmm. And naming it MVMT is an extension of who I am because M is me and V is versus and me training. So it's me versus me training. So when you put MVMT together, it's basically MMT with a V in the middle. So what can that V be? The V can be a lot of things. It can be veracity. It can be victory. It can be vision. It could be visualization. And I visualized all of this. The only person that did it better than me, even though we technically shouldn't compare, is Jaywalk. Jaywalk, the last guy that you had a podcast with, he laid down the blueprint of what's going to happen. He said, one day, all of you guys are homesick, why don't we just make this our home? And MMT became our headquarters. And Faster has always existed. We just didn't call it Faster. Movement has always existed. We just didn't call it movement. Frankie Mercado always knew he was going to be amazing at Muay Thai, and he was going to be even better as a coach because he loved it and it changed his life. So he's paying it forward and changing other people's lives. Yeah. Frankie's changed my life. Yeah. He's helped Jaywalk out. Jaywalk has helped me. I've helped Frankie out. I've also helped Jaywalk out. It has to reciprocate. You have to be genuinely grateful for the blessings that you have in your life, and you can't take any moment for granted. Yeah. So I'm grateful for this rubber band. These guys sponsor me, So Under the Sun Fitness. Awesome. Yeah.
Under the Sun Fitness?
Yeah, they sponsor me. Sponsor meaning like we're partners.
Cool.
So I believe in these guys, and these guys believe in me. Cool. I'm a grinder, so I just picked up my second job, and I work at OG's in Mission Viejo. So a huge shout out to them for hiring me. I'm gonna be a server. Hopefully, I'm gonna start off running food, being a host, and I'm gonna make sure that our sanctuary stays open MVMT is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere because this is a sanctuary for people. The teenagers need this. The little kids need this. The adults need this. Orange County is a perfect spot for this because this is the breeding ground of champions. There's so many talented youth out here. There's so many people that understand the art of jiu-jitsu. There's not politics out here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When you say politics, just out of curiosity,
politics need to die in jiu-jitsu. They need to die because politics basically are made up. Basically, what do politicians do?
Nothing.
Nothing. They talk.
They get reelected. That's about it.
They get reelected. So the politics in jiu-jitsu, I believe, is different from lineage. You should definitely respect where you came from.
Of course.
And you should respect the people that laid the foundation for you. But at the end of the day, nobody should be not allowed to pursue what they want to pursue, how they want to pursue it.
It should be all based on skill set.
Not skill set. Is your intention in the right place? And the person to determine that intention is you.
Yeah.
Because you know your intentions.
True.
You know what you're trying to do.
Yep.
You know what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
And yes, my aspirations are heavy. That's why I need sponsors. I need partners. I need people like OGs. I need people like Under the Sun Fitness. I need people like Egg Weights. I need people like Black Belt CBD. I need these people. I need Frankie in my life. I need Jaywalk in my life because together we get stuff done. When you're on your own, you're only going to make it so far.
Yep.
So, having Mark Munoz as my wrestling coach, do you know the sense of pride and confidence that puts in my heart? Having a UFC legend work with somebody like me to help take my wrestling from subpar to good and then hopefully great. Working with him is going to be the best decision I ever had in jiu-jitsu because
it'd be brutal too.
Because a lot of people assume that I'm just a guard puller. They assume that I don't have any striking. They assume that I don't have any top game.
I feel like that's right where you want them though, assuming. I bet you like people assuming things about you.
I love when people write me off.
Yep.
I'm forever the underdog.
Yep.
I'm forever the underdog.
Yeah. I
love that.
Yeah.
Don't call me the favorite. I'm forever the underdog. So there's more blessings to come, and I know there's just so many people that are in my life that are working towards the greater vision, which is like a us thing. Yeah. And I'm grateful for you.
Oh,
I'm
likewise.
grateful for your time.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the last one we always like to finish it off with is the brief advice you have for anyone out there who wants to turn their passion into profession and subsequently into a paycheck.
Go on YouTube, type in JT Torres, look at this warrior story, which this is what I did. I don't want to be JT Torres. JT Torres is an inspiration. Andre Galval is an inspiration. Megaton Diaz is an inspiration. Carlos, an inspiration. All these founders of jiu-jitsu, they laid the pathway for me to do what I want to do.
So whatever industry you're in, look at the founders, look at the pathway they've laid.
No, close. The advice that JT gave was there is no perfect moment to do anything, but we're always waiting for that perfect moment. So what I took, even if you can't look up the video and see how this amazing practitioner opened up his own academy, the biggest takeaway you need to get is you're never going to be ready for anything.
It's never ideal. The moon and stars will never align.
You can prepare to the best of your ability, and you still won't be ready for the storm that's awaiting you, which is life. Yeah. And you got to just pull the trigger.
Everyone has a game plan until they get punched in the jaw.
Ooh, that Mike Tyson quote. You
know? Hey, well, I really have to say I appreciate your time. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate being so open. It's really cool because the ones that we've done, now with you and with Jaywalk have been so much more than about, you gotta have fitness or fighting. It's just so deeper. It's
you gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith.
And family.
And you gotta have a vision.
And you guys have this cool little family and squad.
And you gotta have conviction, not motivation, because motivation is like a movie. You're inspired right after you watch it, but then a little bit later it passes. So if you gotta go train, you gotta go do something, go do it. Like now's a good time because there is no perfect moment. So you're trying to lose weight? All right, why are you not lacing up? Lace up
Even
now.
if it's just 100 yards, make it 200 tomorrow, then
Lace
300
up.
the next day.
Little by little, step by step.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you, bro.
I appreciate your time, TK.
I appreciate you.
We appreciate you folks always for tuning into the ODDCAST where we talk about people who are turning their passion into paychecks. Thomas Keenan. If
Thank
you
you.
don't know now, you will soon.
Wuss.
Big
Thank
stuff
you.
to come in 2019.
Let's go.
Love,
Wuss.
peace, and chicken grease.
What's up?
Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST.